Thank you for joining us today. My name is Crisanne Blackie. I'm the Director of the Career Center at the University of Maine, and today we're exploring careers in science. We have several guests with us today to talk about their experiences in working in the field of science, and we will start with Robbie Beckford.
Hello, everyone. My name is Robbie Beckford. I'm the Director of Water Quality for the Kennebec Water District. So that means I oversee a water treatment facility that turns lake water from China Lake into drinking water that's supplied to your door for the greater Waterville area. It's about 22,000 people, and the facility can make about 12 million gallons of drinkable water every single day. On top of that, I work in the watershed, do a lot of water quality testing, and I oversee a state accredited laboratory.
Robbie, can you tell us a little about your background and your educational background?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. So I graduated with a biochemistry degree from UMaine in 2014. Throughout my college career, I was a member of the swim team. So I swam Division I all 4 years. I was a member of the Sophomore Owls and Senior Skull Society at UMaine. Really loved it there. Loved, all the teachers and everything about UMaine, really. I'm still involved as much as I can be. So I graduated, took about 6 months and lived in the woods and hiked the Appalachian Trail. So I walked from Georgia up to Maine. And then after I got back, I didn't really know what I wanted to do. So I started applying for all kinds of different jobs. I knew I didn't want to do research. I can't be cooped up in the lab, pipetting all day. So I ended up getting a job with Poland Spring. So I started as a QA tech, working night shift, 12-hour shifts, and worked my way up to become the quality supervisor there. A bunch of different jobs, learned as much as I could. And then about a year ago, started with the Kennebec Water District. And learning every day. It's quite a learning curve taking on a facility like this. So.
What is your most favorite part of your job right now?
Oh man, so the favorite part of my job is that it's different every day. There's so many different aspects. I love challenges. I like coming in and having an idea of what I want to do for the day, but not necessarily knowing what's going to come up. So, one day I could be out on the lake sampling, taking phosphorus samples, and then the next day dealing with a chemical spill in the factory. So every single day is different, and every single day is its own challenge. I'm not one to sit still, and coming from my background and walking a long ways and doing a little bit of everything. Diversity is the key for me, and I've loved it. And biochemistry, learned a lot of different aspects from microbiology to chemistry, and it really allowed me to step in and take on many challenges with that diverse range of knowledge.
Thank you so much, Robbie. Kate, could you tell us about your position with the University of Maine Cooperative Extension and your background?
Thank you. Yes, yes, I'm a horticulturist with the University of Maine Cooperative Extension. And the short elevator pitch is that my job is to help support home and school gardeners with their gardening endeavors in a variety of ways. And so my work involves doing workshops and editing newsletters and doing a lot of one-on-one consultation with folks. If you have a moldy tomato, for example, you can come to me and we can troubleshoot what's going on in your home garden. It's really diverse. Like Robbie had mentioned, that's one of my favorite parts about my job is that no day looks the same, especially with the seasonality nature of my job. Because gardening typically happens mostly in the spring, summer, and fall months. I say mostly because there are some indoor gardening questions that I get in the wintertime. It does, the nature of my work and what it actually physically looks like varies quite a bit. But it is a lot of troubleshooting and helping people figure out problems and have success. And it's really fun to hear back from folks about their successes in their garden. So I really like that aspect of it. How I got here, I definitely would have never pictured myself in this position because as a high school student and an undergrad, I absolutely hated hated doing any public speaking. I wanted to crawl into a hole and just never do it. And I cringe at the thought of the fact that there might be some recordings in my public speaking class in undergrad that they're floating out there somewhere. But something clicked at some point, and I finally got comfortable with public speaking. It pretty much happened in graduate school. But as an undergrad, I went in to get a botany degree, actually, because I had a great science teacher in high school. We would go hiking and backpacking in groups together, and I found identifying plants and understanding forest ecology a lot more. And so that kind of led me into the direction of studying botany in college. But when I was done my undergraduate degree, I really thought I was done school. I was like, I'm ready to go and get a job and enjoy the real world and whatnot. And I just could not picture going back to graduate school. So I went and I took a little bit of time off, enjoyed the world through a 3-month road trip, just a surprise, unplanned thing. And that was really fun. So I encourage you to consider doing that while you don't have fewer responsibilities. And then I found a job at a nursery. Plants, I thought, okay, I know plants pretty well. Well, I still had a lot more to learn and really enjoyed that process. It was quite a steep learning curve. And then as I worked, really found that my favorite aspect of that was helping people, matching the right plant with the right place and answering those gardening questions along the way. And one of my customers happened to be the president of the University of Maine. He was very warm and welcoming and passionate about gardens. And we'd talk every time he came in, and he gradually encouraged me to go back to graduate school, which I never thought I would have done. And I really enjoyed that experience. I jumped into it when it wasn't necessarily time to jump into graduate school. The application period had ended, but I still knocked on that door, and I encourage folks to consider that. You don't have to always follow the normal path. And that really worked out well. And I ended up finding a job in the outreach branch of the university as a result of that. So it was really, really rewarding.
Great. Thank you so much, Kate. I agree with that. I often encourage people to take their own path, and their career development is not always a straight line. So I appreciate you sharing that with us. Thanks so much. Lee, can you tell us about your background and your position with the state of Maine?
Boy, how many days do we have? Do you hear me?
We can hear you great. Thank you so much.
Yeah. So I'm a wildlife biologist, and as you said, I am the moose biologist for Maine Department of Inland Fish and Wildlife. And one of the things we like to tell people, which is a little bit unique in New England for a state agency, is that the office I work out of in Bangor is all statewide species specialist. So we do everything from freshwater mussels to moose. We have regional offices, 7 of them in the state, excuse me, where the wildlife biologists there are jack of all trades. So people ask me what I do, and I do nothing but moose. So that's either really boring to you or it's really exciting to you. And the other New England states, like Vermont and New Hampshire, who have a moose population, because I have to take a break for some water here if I lose my voice, but their moose biologists do all kinds of other work as well. So they don't get to spend, their full week doing just moose stuff. And so it keeps me really busy. Maine has the densest population of moose in the lower 48. And we're very fortunate here in Maine that I'm able to actually do research as well as management. So I consider myself a management person, which means I spend a lot of time in the woods. But I have this research aspect where I'm able to kind of do some other things based on having the resources available to do that. So it's been really exciting. I'm just finishing up a 7-year research project where we've put GPS collars on over 600 moose to look at adult cow and calf survival, which has been probably one of the largest GPS collar studies of moose in North America. And and by saying that, certainly in Maine. So, and then you wanted me to say a little bit about my background?
Yes, please share your background, your academic background, and then maybe a little bit about how you decided that you loved moose.
Yeah. Well, so academically is tough because in my field of wildlife management, a lot of younger folks coming up in high school don't realize that there's such a thing as a degree in wildlife. So a lot of people will look and say, well, I like biology. And of course, biology is a very broad spectrum. You can do everything from cell biology to doing big things like I do. And so the only universities that do wildlife and fish work is usually a state university. So a lot of the private universities that people like to go to, and there's a lot more of those out there, don't have a wildlife program for the most part. So you wind up going to a state university. I came into the game a little bit late. I went to a private school down in Boston and studied, got a bachelor's of arts. And so I was kind of behind the times a little bit. Came back to school, got a BS in wildlife at UNH, and then years later did my grad work down in New Mexico on elk, which got my foot in the door for working with cervid species like elk and moose and deer. And but the biggest thing about my position and getting to where I am is really, besides having experience and skills, is luck, timing. Timing is everything for, I mean, how many moose biologists are there? Not many. There's one in Maine. That's me. So, and I'm a thru hiker just like Robbie. So many years before him.
So was there a pattern in being a through AT hiker or taking time off? It seemed like Kate had recommended taking a time, which is a really interesting thought for students. I don't know how many students kind of envision that.
Important to do.
Yeah, I think it's kind of interesting to take that break and develop your plans further. So what is your best advice when you're talking, thinking back to, maybe when you were in high school, when you started your college career, what is the best advice you have for someone just starting out with their exploration?
I'd love to chime in on this because I've been lucky to be part of a lot of hiring committees, and it's given me the opportunity to really reflect on this question. And one of the things that I can't emphasize enough is to make every job that you have count and see meaning in every job that you have. I mean, I think back to one of my very first jobs is operating the cash register at the window of Taco Bell. Customer service is so important for any job that you have. And taking pride in every job that you have is really important, doing it well. And you will be remembered by people that will give you good references. You will get a great reputation, and then you can build on that. And I can't emphasize that enough. I've weeded a lot of gardens. I've coiled a lot of hoses. I've watered a lot of pots, and it's not all glamorous, but I take pride in doing a good job at that, and really thinking about what you can learn from every job, and putting that into words when you go into an interview is really important. So don't underestimate your experience in any employment experience as possible.
That's great, Kate. Thank you. And I think that's good advice right now, especially when folks may not be getting the summer jobs that they expected to have this summer, but really making the most out of any opportunity that comes your way. So I think that is wonderful to hear. How about Robbie or Lee? Do you have some advice for these students?
Sure, I'll go next if that's all right. My piece of advice is to be able to be flexible and pivot when circumstances change. So I got this advice a little bit later because I wasn't sure what I was going to do. I originally thought I wanted to be a doctor when I went into university. I thought I wanted to be a pharmacist or a doctor. That's the thing to do, and everyone wants to be a doctor. So, about halfway through my college career, I figured out that wasn't for me, and I didn't know what to do, and I was able to pivot and find something I love, and end up in the better, and then take advantage of every opportunity that comes your way. It really goes with what Kate says, to do the best job you can. But if an opportunity presents itself, don't be afraid to take it. Don't be paralyzed by the fear of the unknown. You guys can all make it happen, make it work. And, it'll work out. It'll work out in the end. And, you know, there's a reason for everything to happen. So that's my little piece of advice. I know it's kind of, you know, generic, but, you know, keep that in the back of your head whenever you're trying to do something. I think it's going to serve you well.
I think that's great, because I think taking a risk and trying something new and exploring different opportunities is always a good strategy to learn more. How about you, Lee? Do you have some words of wisdom for our audience today?
Well, I honestly got to say that Kate absolutely nailed it. I don't know if I've heard it say it like that before, but she really did. And I really like what Kate said, because it's absolutely true, is that a person who takes pride in every job they've ever done, I think will go far. And that includes if you become a supervisor and you say to somebody, hey, I need you to sweep the floor, I'll sweep the floor right with you. And you earn a lot of respect that way. And within our wildlife department, you know, we're asking people to have a pretty specialized background, and yet you're always told to have a very general background. But when somebody comes in and they've said they've done all these jobs, and maybe some of them are not related to wildlife, but you can see the pride they take in it. They get recommendations where people really like them. They like their personality. They were go-getters. You know, my buddy Randy Cross, who was the black bear biologist for 35 years, was a good reader of people. And he said, I don't care if you can do this exact job I'm asking you to do, but like Kate said, you know, it's this personality, and I can teach you what I need you to know, but I can't teach your personality. I can't teach you to have that kind of the things that she talked about. And I really like that. I'd say that's great advice. And the only thing I'd add is that, you know, along the way, you're going to meet many people that you're going to work for, and some people will really want to help you, and some people will be jerks. Well, you don't want to work for those jerks anyways. So you align yourself with the people who might cut you a break, and you work with good people. And if it means turning down something or not going in a direction because the person wasn't great as a supervisor, well, you'll find your way. And so it takes perseverance, and you got to stick with it, and eventually you get there.
Yeah, if you don't mind chiming in, you just reminded me of it sometimes does take a scary leap. And I do remember, you know, having to do that in my career, where I wanted to transition into away from the job that I had in one of the nurseries, and it was not a healthy employment situation, and I was taking pride in my work but not happy in my work, and it was scary to go back to graduate school, but it was so worth it. And sometimes you don't know what the results are, but it's so worth taking the risk. If I can just add one other thing related to your experience in school, though, is one other piece is to make yourself known to at least one of your professors each semester, and just introduce yourself, ask for help. Even if, you know, it's not super urgent that you may need the one-on-one help, just ask a question, because making that connection is something those professors really want to. They may seem really busy and may seem to have a lot of students to support, but reaching out will make yourself known, and you might open up a door for yourself as far as an opportunity, just a new thing to learn from that professor.
Great, thank you, Kate. I do have one question for Robbie in the last few minutes here. Robbie, you had mentioned that you were on the swim team at the University of Maine. And I'm wondering if you could talk about how you balanced a extracurricular activity like swimming with a science major. I know we always have questions about that because of the number of lab classes that you have to take with your sciences. And how did that actually work for you?
Yeah, so I was on the swim team all 4 years, and it's quite a demanding schedule. We practiced 20 hours a week, you know, so it's essentially a part-time job. And the practices did fall during lab times pretty regularly. What Kate said, you know, make yourself known to the professors. And I found it, if you work with a professor and you tell them what you're doing, they can work with you depending on different practice schedules and with your coach. You know, Susie was my coach at UMaine, and she was able to, you know, schedule individual practices around different labs. I was able to take, Dr. Gunderson was a biochemistry professor of mine. He allowed me to take a one-on-one lab during the summer. I worked in his lab and got credits that way. So there are options to make that happen. And it was, I think it really helped to, solidify that you can do a lot and be really busy. I would leave my house at 5 a.m. and not get home until 10 p.m, just working through, morning practices, regular classes, and then studying in Vogler. It was busy, but you can do it. And I think in the end, it made me stronger for it to know that you can be busy. In every job you come into, work your hardest and get it done. And, you're going to have a list. You're going to have a list of items that need to get done. And don't let it overwhelm you. Just work through it one item at a time. And that's for school too. You might have 20 projects, make a list, prioritize, and then work your way through it. And, swimming was a lot of fun, and a lot of hard work, but definitely an interesting spin being an athlete, a student athlete. So.
Excellent. Well, thank you. We are out of time for now, and I so appreciate you all taking time out of your busy days to join us today and share some insights into careers in science. We appreciate your time, and we hope you've inspired some young minds to move forward into your career fields. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.